Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is Read Rant Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. I read a bunch of crazy books, and then I tell you all about it. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive of Never Lie by Freida McFadden. This 2022 thriller novel has 286 pages, and on Goodreads, it's currently sitting at a 4.08 with almost 1.4 million ratings, which is obscene. I have covered quite a few Freida McFadden books on this channel. She is my new Colleen Hoover person that I'm dedicating so much of my life to covering their, I was going to say discography. That's not the right terminology. I was going, like, I'm just covering their catalog, right? I'm fascinated. I can't look away from it. It's a train wreck that, like, I'm just addicted to at this point. I find her books, the premise of all of them, genuinely interesting in a way. It's just not very good execution. It's just very convoluted. It's very, in my opinion, bad writing, and we'll talk about that as we go. I'm so genuinely interested in what this woman could possibly come up with. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And we'll unpack that and some of the critiques that I just rattled off a little bit more as we go. But before we get much further, I just want to read you the book description so that you know what we're getting into, and then a couple of disclaimers, and then we'll dive right in. So the book description on Goodreads is: newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams, but when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace 4 years earlier, a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, with no chance of escape until the blizzard comes to an end. In search of a book to keep her entertained until the snow abates, Trisha happens upon a secret room, one that contains audio transcripts from every single patient that Dr. Hale has ever interviewed. As Trisha listens to the cassette tapes, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to Dr. Hale's mysterious disappearance. Trisha plays the tapes one by one late into the night. With each one, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place, and Dr. Adrian Hale's web of lies slowly unravels. And then Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the entire horrifying truth. Dun, dun, dun. I know, so interesting. Genuinely, I'm not saying that sarcastically. What a cool premise to go into a book with. I stopped highlighting stuff by the time I got to chapter 8, because then I said, I think we get the gist. Like I said, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of Freida's writing. I don't really think there's anything to gain of me reading you direct quotes from the book, so I would rather just do large swath summaries of like the events that are happening. If you're not used to the channel, right? Like if you're new to the channel, hey, usually I'll do like a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown. It'll be a little bit more specific. I'll pull out quotes, I'll pull out the good, the bad, the everything along the way. And that's how I prefer to do my reviews. But when a book that somehow has less than 300 pages still manages 70 chapters, I'm not doing that. So I'll just give you just kind of like major plot points kind of as we go along. And at least for the first 8 chapters, I'll read you enough for you to understand why I made that decision. And then we'll press on. Disclaimers, we'll go ahead and knock those out of the way. This will contain all of the spoilers. Yeah, I don't know. Go read it if you want to and then come back and watch this. The second disclaimer is that my review is not for the author. Right? My reviews are for fellow readers, and I'm just here to have a good time. This review is not for the author. It's not for friends, fans, family, stans, anything of the like. Again, if you haven't caught on already, I'm speaking pretty negatively here. I understand the appeal, though. I do just want to, acknowledge that. I understand why she's popular. Her books are accessible. The reading comprehension isn't crazy high, and I think it is incredibly important to have books that are easily accessible to people. I want people to read all kinds of stuff, dude. That's super awesome. And her books are, like I said, a train wreck that I can't look away from. I understand why people get addicted to this stuff, but from like a literary critique perspective, which I have no business doing, but I do because I have fun. But I ultimately, right, I'm just like I'm uneducated in that field. I'm just over here talking crap for funsies on the internet. There's a lot of room for improvement, right, in the practice of what she has. And I think that there's a lot better writers with more fleshed out things that deserve more attention. And I hate that we end up in these like hype trains of these very, very particular authors, and then they get all of the money and all of the funding from all of these like brand deals and publishing deals. and movie deals and all this stuff when there's so many amazing authors and stories out there that deserve just as much, if not more, attention. And maybe we could share some of the goodness here. Like, there's enough to go around. And it really bothers me that we end up hyper-focused on very specific authors, like current day, as I'm filming this, being Freida McFadden with her like 2 or 3 movie deals, and Colleen Hoover with her like 3 or 4 movie deals that are coming up, right? Anyway, so yeah, I do want to acknowledge that. I understand that people love this author, love these books, whatever. I'm not crapping on anybody. Like, you do you. It's just, I don't know. I don't take it personal, and don't go defending a millionaire in my comments either, you know what I'm saying? And then also just want to give like a blanket viewer discretion is advised on this. If at any point you need to tap out, no judgment here, no hard feelings. Ultimately, yeah, I don't think it's, from what I remember off of the top of my head at this exact moment, I don't think that there's anything too wild crazy other than the general murder shenanigans, general violence between people that you expect in these types of books, but I don't think there's anything super, super uber egregious. If we come across it, I'll give you a warning, but I don't think there is from my memory currently. The only other thing I did want to note that I realized that I had highlighted was the dedication. Freida dedicated this book for my husband. We finally got our dream house, which is a very odd thing to open this particular book with because, well, you'll find out in a second. Anyway, okay. I think that's all I have to say disclaimer-wise. So I think we're about to get right into this. Our prologue is from our first main POV person. We have 2 main female characters, as is tradition with Freida McFadden books. We will also have a slew of characters. So as always, when there's a lot of characters, I'll have a character list up on screen. If you're watching visually, you'll have a little reference, little table guy thingy-majiggy over here. So we open our book with Adrian. Dr. Adrian Hale, as mentioned in the book description, is this psychiatrist that went missing a couple of years ago from the current day. But in our prologue, it's a little bit of a flashback. It's from her POV, and it's short enough. I'll go ahead and read it to you so we can all get oriented, and if you're new to Freida's writing, you can get a feel for it. So, prologue. Adrian. Everybody lies. Years ago, a psychological experiment was devised to estimate the prevalence of untruthful behavior. It involved a broken vending machine. Subjects were informed that the vending machine was malfunctioning. If they put in $1, the faulty machine would dispense candy, but then return their dollar. Subjects who used the vending machine found this to be absolutely true. They dispensed 1, 2, 3, or even 4 pieces of free candy, and then retrieved their money from the machine. There was a sign on the vending machine. The sign read, "To report any malfunctions with this machine, please call the number." Unbeknownst to the subjects, the number provided belonged to one researcher in the study. Take a guess at how many of those subjects called this number to report the broken machine. 0. That's right. And also, I'm intentionally pausing because these are such short sentences. These are not very complex. They're not compound. There's not any type of semicolons or dashes or em dashes or anything to be indicative of like a complicated sentence structure. And that goes to what I'm saying about how easily these books are to understand. And even during the author's note at the beginning of this, Freida acknowledges that there are a lot of kids, that's her word use, kids read her books. And so she tries to keep them somewhat PG and family friendly. It's a whole thing. It was a very interesting author's note, but that is also just a testament to how simple the sentence structures are and how easily understandable her books are. So that's why I'm pausing so much, because it is very, very, I guess choppy would be the word, sentences. So anyway, this vending machine, right? 0 people reported it. That's right. Not even one of the dozens of subjects was honest enough to call the number and report the broken vending machine. Each one of them took their free candy and moved on. As I said, everybody lies. There are many easily identifiable signs that a person is lying, especially if they're an unskilled liar. As a trained psychiatrist, I am intimately familiar with these signs. It's almost always easy to spot them. Liars fidget. The tone of their voice or speech patterns change. Liars offer too much information, babbling on with excessive detail to convince themselves or others of what they are saying. Machines have been built to recognize these patterns and identify them. However, even the best lie detector has a 25% rate of error. I am far more accurate than that. If you listen to the audio tapes of my patient encounters, you can't always tell. On tape, you miss the very important visual cues, avoiding eye contact, for example, or covering their mouth or eyes. But if you're my patient and you are sitting in my office talking to me, I can watch your face and your gestures and listen to the pitch of your voice. I will know the truth. I always know. Never lie to me. Okay. So then we go into chapter 1, and this is from Trisha's point of view. Again, she is the second main female character that we will have in this book, and we will alternate POVs between these two characters, which also means we're alternating between these two timelines. So again, that's exactly what this little chart thing over here will be for, okay? And I'll try to make some notes, and my editor will make some notes along the way. Everybody, shout out Gwen. We love Gwen here. She is amazing. This video would not be happening if it were not for her. So thank you so much, bestie. So Trisha, present day. Her and her husband are making their way up this snowy mountain in New York to go to this house. They've been searching for a house for a couple of months now. They're pretty picky about what they're looking for. These guys are newlyweds. Her husband's name is Ethan. They've only been married for 6 months, and yeah, they're just trying to find the home of their dreams. So they're on their way to this like rural remote house thing out in the woods, and they're going to meet the real estate agent out there, but it's like the middle of a blizzard. And almost immediately, you can tell that there's some tension between Trisha and Ethan. Like, we're in her POV, and she's just talking mad crap about this man. And then she ends it talking about how they're in the honeymoon phase, and I don't think so, but we'll get there. They end up pulling up to this house, and there is a light on the second floor. So they say, okay, well, I guess the real estate agent is here. That's good. Let's go ahead and get inside. Again, snowing, cold. So they get inside. The door is jammed, like it's locked. They find a key under a potted plant nearby, unlock it. He has to like throw his body weight to get inside of the house. And immediately Trisha's like, I don't think the real estate agent is here, because they turn on the lights. It takes like a couple of seconds for the lights to like buzz on, and some of the lights are broken. There's cobwebs everywhere. There's like a solid layer of dust on the floor. Like they're leaving footprints as they walk because it's that dusty. It's just very, very bad vibes inside of this house as well. She immediately has this like waves of nausea, and she can just immediately tell that something bad has happened in this house. They continue making their way through the house, and no sign of the real estate agent. Literally none at all. There is a very odd, again, like I said, it's dusty. They're leaving footprints everywhere. And there's this one footprint by the fireplace or by this other area that is very clearly a man's footprint, and it's not somewhere that Trisha's husband has walked over to yet. So she says, hey, yo, like, what the frick is this? Like, are we not concerned about this? Like, Ethan, will you look at this? And he just brushes it off. He's like, it's fine. Okay, I guess. She eventually convinces him to go upstairs and go and investigate, because she's like, if it's not the real estate agent, because they checked in the garage, her car's not there, her car wasn't in the driveway, she's not responding to anything, and it's like, okay, so if the real estate agent's not here, somebody was here. There was a light on the second floor. So Ethan finally goes up there. He goes poking around. He doesn't find anything, but she's still scared about it. Like, she's still afraid that there's going to be somebody creepy here, but they can't leave. They're like snowed in. And so they try to make the best of it, and they poke around in the kitchen, and they try to find some food. And it's very, very clear, like I said, that this house has been abandoned for quite a while. Oh, and actually, so before they get to the kitchen, one of the things by that fireplace, above the fireplace, like on the mantle, is this huge portrait of a woman. It's kind of weird. And then in the bookshelf, there's bookshelves everywhere in this house. On one of the bookshelves, there is obviously a book. Trisha pulls it out, and it is by Dr. Adrienne Hale. And I can't remember the title of it. Doesn't really matter. It was one of her like pop psychology, really famous books that came out a couple of years ago that like put her on the map in pop psychology, whatever that terminology means. Like I've heard it, but I don't know what it means. It's like a type of genre of book though. So they talk about that, and then they say, okay, so on the back of the book, there's a picture of the author, of Dr. Adrienne Hale. And they look up at the picture on the fireplace, the picture on the mantle, and the big portrait is also of Dr. Adrienne Hale. And they're like, wait, is this her house? Are we at Dr. Hale's house right now? And also, if we are, that's kind of weird that like she has a big portrait of herself over the fireplace. Like that's very strange. And also, this has to be her house because there's like 20 copies of this book. So this has to be her. This is very, very strange. And also they start talking about it and they're like, but she's been missing for 4 years because yeah, her boyfriend killed her, right? And they have this whole back and forth. And it's like, I don't think her boyfriend killed her. They never found her body. She's just missing. And it's like, oh, well, still, she's been missing for 4 years, like presumably dead. Do we really want to live in a dead woman's house? Like that seems kind of weird and it seems kind of haunted, and with the light upstairs and somebody presumably in the house that we can't find, like this is a little creepy, right? That's what Trisha says. And Ethan's like, nah, babe, it's cool. I mean, everybody dies. Everybody dies eventually. So yeah, I mean, unless you buy a brand new house, inevitably somebody that lived there's died there, or like that used to live there has died. So yeah, it's fine. Anyway, let's go look in the kitchen. Let's go get some dinner since we have to crash out here because, you know, it's all snowy outside. And so they're going through the kitchen, and the whole time she's like, there's no way there's going to be any food left. This house has been clearly abandoned for 4 years. Well, they open up the fridge and there's bologna that expires next week. So it's still good. And there's some cheese and there's some bread and some mayo. I don't know if there's cheese. I think it's literally just like bologna bread and mayo. They don't bat an eye at this. Ethan just makes them some sandwiches, and they're eating and having a good old time trying to pretend that this is a completely and total normal situation. Until Trisha looks over and there's a cup right by the sink, half filled with water, the outside of it dripping with condensation. Ethan? My voice sounds shaky. Yeah? I swallow as my eye stays on the glass. I think there's somebody else in this house. His head snaps up from the sandwich preparation. He's got a slice of bologna clutched in his right hand. I don't give a fuck. Why are you telling me this man clutching bologna? And it made me think of the one Smosh moment. He's like, I was alone, croissant in hand. He's just clutching bologna? What are you talking about? Anyway, so yeah, they get like more and more confirmation that this place is like really, really creepy and there has to be somebody around. And especially with the, this cup thing, the light thing, the footprint, like blah, blah, blah. But we're just going to ignore all of it. Okay. Yeah. You know what? That's totally fine. That's all good. And then we get like our first POV switch back to Adrienne. And we are, how far in the past are we? Or are we told? Nope, just before. I love that so much. Freida did the same thing in the book The Boyfriend, where it was just Tom the before times is how I referred to it, which is what I'll be doing now, because God forbid we be given a clear and concise timeline. So Adrienne in the before times is a raging B word, like a deeply unlikable person. I don't think Freida could make a likable character if she tried. And maybe it's intentional. Maybe she never has tried. But it's like every single character of hers that I have ever read about, I just can't do it, dude. So she's going on at her house, vibing, hanging out, Adrienne is, and her agent shows up. Her literary agent of the last 5 years shows up because this is some, again, unknown time after Dr. Adrienne Hale's first book publication. And so the publishing agency and her agent are here trying to get her to write a follow-up book. So she comes and she's like, hey, I have the first proof of your second book. Here you go. Let's talk about it. And she's just incredibly dismissive of this literary agent. She thinks that she's incredibly rude. And I mean, honestly, she's not wrong, because the agent is kind of critiquing Adrian and the fact that she lives in this ginormous mansion out in the woods all by herself. And don't you get scared at night? Don't you wish you had a man? I can't believe that you're here and you don't have any kids or anything. Like, you've never considered any of it. I'm disappointed in Paige for her judgment, Paige being the agent, even though I'm not surprised. I'm sure many people could judge her for her own choices. If she hadn't taken the time to push out 2 rugrats, she might be further in her career. She might not have to suck up to someone like me. And also, she wears far too much makeup. I don't trust women who cake on layers of foundation like a mask that adheres directly to their skin. And then continues to go on for like the rest of the chapter, completely just being misogynistic about this other woman, which is deeply unnecessary. Is so deeply and incredibly unnecessary. And when the agent goes to leave, Adrian has decided that she's going to fire her. But before she does, she wants to mess with the woman. So she's like, hey, by the way, you know, you got some like mascara or something under your eye. And so the woman, she says, oh my God, oh no, like I got to look at it, and drops her phone, and the phone cracks. And Adrian says, no, that's so sad, isn't it? She had no makeup on her face. She was literally just saying that because she's like, I know this woman's so deeply insecure, and that if I say something's wrong with her makeup, she'll spiral. And then now her phone's cracked, and then maybe she'll learn to not be on her phone so much because that's all she ever does, and she's addicted to it. And I hate people that are addicted to their phones. She's just a terrible person, and I'm going to fire her when she gets home tonight. You're just sitting here. Like, chapter 3, by the way, that we get this, like, deep dive from this woman's point of view, and you're just like, we didn't even have, like, a chance for me to try to, like, build a relationship or give an ever-loving crap about this woman, dude. Like, not even trying to make me care. Anyway, back to Trisha and Ethan as they're in this mansion. They take, like, another break to go and search around the house, or maybe after this glass thing is when they finally do it. I don't know. I don't really care. Point being, they go search around. They don't find anybody. Ethan goes back to making sandwiches. And while he's making sandwiches, Trisha decides to go and poke around. And she reveals to us about how she is worried because she is pregnant, and she hasn't told Ethan about this yet because they are newlyweds. They just got married again 6 months ago, and they talked about not even wanting to start trying for kids for at least like 2 to 3 years, and she just doesn't know how he's going to take it, and she's just so incredibly nervous to tell him. And then also, while she's out wandering around while he's making sandwiches, I don't know how long it could possibly take to make like 3 to 4 bologna sandwiches, but long enough for her to poke around on a bookshelf and find like a secret hidden entrance. The bookshelf's like a secret door into this office of Dr. Hale's. And she goes in there and she finds all of these cassette tapes, all of the recordings that were kind of mentioned in the book description, where Dr. Hale had recorded all of these patient sessions, has them all labeled, has them all like color coded and whatever. And Trisha's just looking around, and Ethan calls for her. And so she grabs one off the shelf, puts it in her pocket, and heads out to go and have this like dinner thing with Ethan out in the kitchen. And when we go into chapter 6, we're in the before times with Adrian, and we get her information about working in this office. She was a psychologist, and she would see patients in her office, and she would record all of these sessions, and she would keep track of all of them with the date and the initials. And so on this particular day, she is thinking about one of her patients called EJ. That's at least what he's like known as on these tapes. And how EJ's mom left him a voicemail about how she's not going to pay for his sessions anymore, and how he's supposed to pay for the sessions with his allowance, and something. It's fine because Adrian doesn't like this patient anyway, because he's a little much that we'll get into in a bit. But she makes this particular note. I look away from the computer screen to the tape recorder sitting on my desk. Ever since I started holding therapy sessions in my home, I have been recording every single one of them. I ask all patients for permission prior to the recording session, although even when they tell me no, I still record them. I find the tape recordings of therapy sessions to be extremely helpful. Yes, I could take notes as many therapists do, but those could potentially be inaccurate. Tape recordings don't lie. Okay, that's fine, I guess. I will actually give you more info about the EJ guy, because there is this little bit tidbit here. The moment I first met this man, I immediately disliked him, but I had already met Susan, his mother, and agreed to see her son. I considered telling her no, but I had given her my word, and I did believe that I could help him. Unfortunately, I do not believe it any longer. I cannot help this man. He has no insight into his shortcomings, and he never will. He has no desire to change, and now that his mother is no longer paying me, I have ample excuse to terminate our sessions. I will never have to see him again. And we go back to Trisha. Some time has passed, and Ethan is off doing God knows what, and she is by herself again. And so she decides, like, anytime that she has a chance, she goes into this secret room, and she doesn't want to tell Ethan about this little secret space for whatever reason. And so she's in here and she's looking through all the cassettes, and she sees a couple of the other patients, right? There's one tape that's labeled PL, and she remembers that PL is the patient that is talked about in the very first book, like of Dr. Hale's, the one that was really, really famous and got really popular. It was about those sessions and that relationship that she had with patient PL. And so this like really piques Trisha's interest. And then she also sees a tape that has the label Luke on it instead of with the initials. And we learn that Luke is the name of Dr. Adrian Hale's boyfriend. This is the guy who presumably murdered her or whatever. It was her boyfriend at the time of her disappearance. And then he too disappeared and went missing and completely whatever immediately after she did. So nobody really knows what happened with any of it. And really the reason that she doesn't tell Ethan about this room is because she's like, he always tells me that I'm too nosy all the time anyway, and he won't want me to listen to these tapes. He'll just tell me to mind my own business. And so then she just continues being nosy. She like does exactly that. It's so repetitive. Like I'm looking at my notes, and I literally, in what I have summarized to you about the first like 5-6 chapters, it's literally all that gets talked about up to chapter 10. It's so repetitive. The only thing to note is that Ethan goes to take a shower, and then when he's gone, she finally decides to listen to one of these tapes. In the office, like in Adrian's office, there is a tape recorder. And so she goes in there and she puts in one of the PL tapes. And so chapter 10 is a transcript of the recording, again, to the before times of God knows when this actually freaking is recorded. God forbid we actually, again, assign any type of timeline to anything. But this initial tape recording, it's the second session that Dr. Hale and PL ever had. And in it, PL is talking about the reason that she is in therapy. And that like inciting incident was the fact that her and her boyfriend and 2 of their friends were out at a cabin, and she woke up in the middle of the night and somebody had murdered her boyfriend, her and her 2 best friends. It's like her boyfriend, her best friend, and then like some other friend that like happened to be there. But she woke up and everybody around her was dead. And she got stabbed in the stomach. And so she's like lived with survivor's guilt of this entire situation. And then also the person that had done that had never gotten caught. And she just lives in constant fear all the time. And Dr. Adrian Hale promises to try to help PL get her life together. Not together, but you know what I mean, like regain control of her life. When she hears the shower stop, she immediately stops listening to the tapes because, again, she doesn't want to get caught. And when she goes upstairs and finds her boyfriend, he's putting on clothes that were like already in the house. And so he's wearing Dr. Adrian Hale's boyfriend's clothes. So she's thinking to herself, what's worse than wearing a dead woman's clothes is wearing the person who killed that woman's clothes. Hey, does that make any sense to you? I understand the point of what we're saying. He's wearing a dead person's clothes or a murderer's clothes. Hey, why are we doing that? You've been there for one day. You can't just like put your clothes back on? Why are we putting on new clothing? I don't understand the point of any of that. That's so creepy. That's so uncomfortable and weird. And again, he just doesn't care about any of this stuff. And he's talking about how they're going to go to sleep that night and they're just going to go ahead and sleep in Adrian's room because it's the master bedroom. And he's like, yeah, I mean, this is where we're going to sleep anyway when we buy the place. We might as well get used to it. And Trisha, understandably, is wildly uncomfortable with the entire house and all of this. But I don't know, call her a pushover, call her a people pleaser. I don't know what it is, but she ends up like falling asleep next to her husband, thinking about his weird kind of like interpretations and thoughts of death and how death doesn't really bother him apparently. And we learned that both of his parents had died before she and Ethan met. Okay. I've read this book twice now, and I'm going through it a third time with you guys now, right? Like, I did my initial listen forever ago. I did one to take my notes, and then now I'm telling it. And so I'm still confused. Even as I'm telling you this, I'm like, wow, I really hope that I'm making sense to you as a listener, because like this is, again, we're so convoluted already. Anyway, she tries to sleep, doesn't work for very long. She ends up waking at like 3 a.m, can't fall back asleep. And so she decides that she's going to go sneak around and go back into Dr. Adrian Hale's office and go and look at and listen to all of these cassette tapes. So this time when she goes in there, she's looking more at the color coding of the tapes, and she's realizing that blue is the first tape for each patient, and then there's black for the subsequent ones, and then red as the final session. And that's how they're all like notated. So she notices that there's a discrepancy with the way that EJ's tapes are, because there's blue, there's the black, there's a red one, meaning that the sessions ended presumably when Dr. Adrian Hale had gotten the email from the mom about not paying for the sessions anymore. But then all of a sudden, there's more black ones. So why did she start seeing the guy again? And also that means that she was seeing EJ when she went missing. So that's also kind of weird, right? Because there was no like final red session. So, I mean, Trisha's wondering the same thing. Like, what the heck is all that about? So she grabs the red tape. She puts it in the tape recorder, listener, player, thingy, majiggy, and starts listening to it. And that's what we get next. We get the transcript of this session. And Dr. Adrian is telling him that she's no longer going to be able to see him as a patient. And he says, "You're going to be really sorry that you kicked me out of here." Oh, that is ominous. The only thing to really note of Trisha's, ending of this, she finishes listening to the tape and then she's thinking about it and how creepy it was and him threatening her. And she's wondering if the police ever looked into EJ. And also that there's something weird about his voice. There's something weird and creepy and kind of familiar about his voice, but she just can't really put her finger on it. She wants to listen to more, but all of a sudden there's like a crashing sound. She goes out to the living room, and that portrait of Dr. Adrian Hale that was over the fireplace has now fallen and is on the ground. And that's eerie and scary and spooky, because Trisha earlier, she didn't like that picture. She felt like the eyes like followed her everywhere. And so she made her husband, take it down and put it off in the corner. And so now it's like fallen from the fireplace onto the ground in front of it, which would mean somebody put it back up, which is really, really weird and creepy. And so she starts freaking out about it. And Ethan comes downstairs and she's trying to explain to him what has happened, and saying that she thinks that somebody was in the living room and that somebody must have moved it again, and how creepy all of this is. And he's like, "No, babe, I don't know. You're just like imagining things. Like, I'm the one that moved it earlier," and blah, 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 blah. And she's thinking to herself, it must just be the pregnancy hormones. And goes back up and goes to bed. Okay. Okay. In the next little POV swap that we get from Adrian in the before times, she's going to like a clinic to go and do some work that she does out there sometimes. And as she's pulling into a parking spot, somebody cuts her off really, really bad right in front of her. And the guy gets out of the car and is like giving her some like evil eyes. And in her head, she's thinking about like slamming on the gas and like mowing him down. And she's like, well, I can't do that because I'm a civilized person. So instead, she parks her car. She goes inside the clinic. She has a couple conversations with some folks. Runs into Luke, who will later become her boyfriend. He is like some tech guy there, and eventually he like comes out to install security cameras or something for her house. That's how they meet. That's their meet cute, I guess. But when she goes to leave the clinic that day, she goes up to that guy that cut her off and took her parking spot and like keys his car, or slashes his tires, I think, actually. And then just gets her in her car and goes home like nothing happened. In that story, that little blip that I just told you about the before times with Adrian happens over the course of like 3 chapters, over the next like 20 chapters that we get told. It's just like sprinkled in such a way that I'm like, bro, you literally could have told me about like this one instance. We could have just knocked all of this out. Why are we dragging this on so long? Why are we doing this? Why are we milking it? You know, and maybe you could argue like it's to draw out the suspense. Okay, sure, maybe. Or maybe, you know, freaking literature is being ruined by page counts and the need to have people read pages because that's what authors get paid by on like digital platforms like Kindle Unlimited. You get paid by the page number that people read. And so you just milk it because there's nothing incentivizing the authors to be concise with their storytelling or like efficient with anything that you're doing. But that's a personal conspiracy theory. That's my tinfoil hat theory about it all. The next morning, Trisha wakes up. We're back into current day. She wakes up and Ethan's downstairs making her breakfast. He's making her eggs. It makes her super nauseous and she pukes and she realizes that it's time to tell him the truth. And she's thinking to herself, I don't know why I'm so worried about telling him the truth. He's a nice guy. But what if he's not? What's the worst that could happen? He takes it out on you and he kills me and he buries my body in the snow? Well, I mean, like technically, statistically, yeah. I mean, that is something that you should be concerned about. I don't know why we're being lighthearted about it. Like that's a legitimate concern with this man that you don't really know, but okay. Just crack jokes, I guess. We'll talk about it later. She does tell him. And he actually takes it pretty well. He's like actually very excited about this. And she's like, oh, awesome. So then I'm like, okay, awesome. Great. So you just wasted my freaking time over the last 10 chapters building this tension of this like grand reveal of her being pregnant just for it to not mean shit. For it to like literally not have any type of drama at all. Because it's a red herring, right? Because that's all that Freida McFadden does in her books is she has like 37 red herrings for like every actual plot thing. Because she's like, you'll never see this plot twist coming. And it's like, no, we didn't. Because it's stupid. You didn't give us any reason to think that these things were happening because you freaking tried to be so clever and cute about it and be like, so I outsmarted you. That's not what that's called. Like there's a point when you're just like overdoing it, dude. I'm exhausted. Anyway, sorry. We'll get back on track. He's happy about the baby. And then they continue to talk and they realize that they had a miscommunication about the painting thing last night. And it doesn't really matter. It's just making her feel more and more crazy and doubting that, I don't know. It's just making her feel crazy. Does any of this matter? Hold on, I'm sitting back. I'm getting frustrated. Does any of my note actually matter? Do I need to tell any of this to you? I feel like I could literally skip entire chapters at a time and it won't even matter. So after her and Ethan, you know, talk and have breakfast and I don't know, kind of sort of argue, it's still snowing outside. They're still snowed in. So he goes outside to get his laptop out of his car so that he can maybe try to get some work done or try to contact some people or I don't know, try to do something. They don't have any cell phone service up here either. And as he goes out there to go and do that, she decides, oh, well, I'm going to go back into that weird secret room over here and I'm going to go and look at a couple more tapes and grab a couple more and just get my little greedy grabby paws on everything. So she grabs the EJ tape, like a couple of those. She grabs the tape that's labeled Luke. And then she also grabs one for a patient with the initials GW. And so the next chapter from the Adrian Before Times, we get the transcript of what this GW session was. It's from this 68-year-old widow named Gail. And she is really worried about how everybody in her life is trying to kill her. She thinks her mailman is, you know, her neighbor, her son even, and you know, Dr. Hale was going through and trying to talk her of like, you know, hey, like, why do you think that would be? And she's like, well, my son gets this huge insurance payment if I die. Adrian's like, I don't think that's an issue. I think you're just, you know, she doesn't say it, but internally, because God forbid this woman not be unlikable, she's like, this old bat, she's a little cuckoo banana girl. She just needs to chill out. And like completely dismisses this like woman's fears, writes her off as being crazy. And in the middle of the session, she gets a text message. And so she cuts the session short. Okay, what text message could possibly have been so important? I'm glad you asked. It's a text from EJ, patient EJ, the guy that got cut off by his mom, couldn't go to any sessions anymore, threatened her earlier. Homeboy sent her a text message with the video file of Dr. Adrian Hale slashing that guy's tires at the clinic. Are you following? So he is blackmailing her, essentially, and says, I'm outside of your front door. I want to talk. And so she's like, well, I guess I don't really have a choice, because if, this video gets out, I could lose like all credibility and I could lose my license, and he has like all this like leverage over me. So I guess now I have to hear him out. I have to continue being his psychiatrist. And that's exactly what he pretty much demands, is that they'll have once a week for 1 hour sessions. And this is do I want to spoil this for you? Yeah, I'll spoil it for you. That's fine. Ethan, Trisha's boyfriend, Ethan. Earlier, she was like, yeah, he's so handsome, but he's really standoffish and doesn't have many friends, and both of his parents are dead already, and, that was kind of weird, and all of my friends said that it was red flags, that he didn't have anybody important in his life, but I didn't think it was a red flag. The only bad thing about my husband is that he's a little short. Okay. And so in this session, when Ethan, maybe, in this session with EJ, at the very end of it, Adrian is noting like he's really, really handsome, but he's short, and he might have like a Napoleon complex. And so the red herring here, I guess you don't know if it's a red herring. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. The thing that we're trying, the breadcrumb, the little trail that we're trying to get the readers to believe is that Ethan, current day, Trisha's boyfriend, husband, might be EJ, this client that threatened Dr. Adrian Hale. Capiche? Okay, it's messy. I know. You like how earlier I was like, oh my God, her books are so easy to understand. And then literally the last 20 minutes, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so confusing. In the following transcript that Trisha listens to, it's another recording of EJ and Dr. Adrian, and he's talking about how his parents are wealthy, and he's like in his late 20s at this point in this recording, and he literally just like lives off of his parents' money, but he wants to be independent, and so he's just like, I can't wait until they die. And then he's like, yeah, my mom's a really, really bad driver. Wouldn't surprise me if she got in a car accident one day. And Dr. Adrian's like, I mean, you really think like she's that bad of a driver? And he's like, I mean, she would be if I cut her brake line. Hello? Okay. I mean, he doesn't say that. I mean, he's like, yeah, maybe if the brakes failed, blah, blah, blah. No. Oh my God. Okay. That's like, I feel like after every chapter of one of these books, I'm just like, okay. Like concerned, scared. And then the only other thing to note is like this is such like a weird session, because right, again, he's like kind of holding her hostage, and he's just like venting and just wanting this time to spend with Dr. Hale. And so he's also like, yeah, I got this one fantasy, that a gorgeous woman will come up to me one day at the casino, and I'll be, playing blackjack or playing craps or I don't know, some casino game. And this real gorgeous woman will come up to me, and she'll hit on me, and we'll go upstairs, and we'll bang, and we'll never even know each other's names. That's it. That's the dream. Again, my reaction being, okay. Ethan comes back after a while. I finally, again, I don't know. Maybe this is the point where he went out to his car to try to drive down the road to see if the roads were clear further down, or to he trekked down the driveway at one point to try to get the snowplows to go up their driveway or something. Maybe that's what just happened, and that's why he was gone for so long. I don't know. I don't care to look. Regardless, he returns, and he's like, hey babe, what are you doing? And obviously she's gonna lie, because she doesn't want to tell him that she's listening to these tapes. And so she's like, yeah babe, I was just working on my resume. And he says, babe, if you're about to have a baby, you don't need a job. I can support you. I've got plenty of money. Don't worry about it. And she's like, oh my God, I have such a wonderful husband. He's so caring and kind. And I don't know why my friends see so many red flags in him. You know what? Actually, I'm going to look up how many times red flag gets said in this fucking book, because I bet it's a lot. It's only 4. Why does it feel like so many more? Okay. I have been corrected. So she's like, I don't know why my friends see such bad in him. Like, he's such a genuinely good guy, and he just wants to take care of me, and whatever. But he leaves to go and do whatever Ethan's do, and she goes back to listening to the tapes, and this time Trisha plays the tape labeled Luke. And the context of this tape and the reason that it is labeled in such a way is because we go back to Adrian in the before times. She goes back to the clinic. She has like another little follow-up thing. And while there, she runs into the IT guy, Luke. Like we mentioned before, she runs into him and she says, hey, last time I was here, you talked about putting like some security cameras, security system thing up at my house. I need to take you up on that. Like, can you come out and install that? And he says, oh yeah, totally. I could totally do that for you. And so he does. He comes up there, and afterward he's like kind of asking her about her work and what she does and if she likes it, and asks her about the book that she wrote, and she invites him to do a mock therapy session, or like psychiatric session thingy-majiggy, whatever that she does. She says, hey, you want to do one real quick? And so they do. And then we get the transcript of the recording. We're in chapter 24, in case you were curious. Luke talks about how he had a wife that died and he doesn't want to talk about it, but he opens up and tells Adrian that he has feelings for her, and how the whole time all he could think about was what would happen if I got up off of this couch and I came over and I kissed you. And Dr. Hale in the recording, she says, well, why don't you find out? And then the recording ends. Just like, again, okay. What the fuck is happening? I don't know. Yeah, they end up boning. There's like a chapter about that. And then we're back into present day with Trisha. And she's thinking to herself, he liked her. He really liked her. Like, I could just tell listening to his voice. Like, he definitely had feelings for her. That's not the voice of a murderer. Okay. And she decides to like shut, up this little office situation thing, and like goes on about her day. And when she's walking around trying to find out where Ethan is, she finds like a little string dangling from the ceiling. And it turns out it's like the entrance to the attic. So she pulls on it and the little stairs come down, and she pokes her head and goes up there into the attic. And it's dusty and there's boxes everywhere, but there's also a sleeping bag that is not dusty, and like a bag of stuff and some random things that are not dusty at all. And she realizes, oh yes, somebody has in fact been in this house. To which I would just like to circle back. Let's rewind. That's time travel. When they first got into the house, and it was noted again explicitly that there was a layer of dust everywhere, that they could see their own footprints as they walked through the house. It was also noted specifically that she saw a man's footprint. You only saw one footprint, and then there's bologna and bread and stuff that's like not expired in the fridge, and that you're telling me there wasn't like footprints all over the house, like of him going to the kitchen and cooking for himself, or like, I don't know, the footprints going up into the attic? What are you talking about? You only saw one singular footprint.
Huh?
Okay. She cries and freaks out about this and goes to tell Ethan, and he's like, hey babe, we've been here for like, I don't know, 24 hours, and we haven't seen anything. We're fine. It's safe. Okay, zero survival instinct. Hey, did I have to tell you these people are white? Anyway. The before times, Adrian and Luke going through their dating phase, hitting it off, everything's going great between the two of them, and she keeps getting messages from EJ. And then on this particular day or whatever that we're having this reflection on, he says that he wants to see her the following day. So we say, okay, cool, he's gonna come for another session. So then the next chapter is that session, chapter 29, in case you're keeping up. This chapter is just talking more and more about the session between Adrian and EJ. Ultimately, their sessions kind of spiral into him extorting her for pain medication, like hardcore, like pain drugs, which typically she should not and really cannot be prescribing as a psychiatrist, but she does anyway because she's, again, being extorted. While she's doing this, we're getting kind of some of that story and some of that craziness. We get current day from Trisha, where she and Ethan are having lunch and they're talking about the baby in the future. And she's like, well, hey, if it's a boy or a girl, we can name it after your mom or dad. And he's like, I wasn't close to my parents. And she's thinking to herself, I can tell he's keeping secrets from me, and he should know he doesn't have to. He can tell me anything. And we're just sitting there as the reader, like, what? Why are you making it weird? Why is everything making everything so weird right now? But they end this conversation talking about the house, and like, I can really see us having babies and raising kids in this house, can't you? And they're like, yeah, I can, babe. Awesome. We're gonna buy it for sure. And we cut back to before time. This time we're getting a transcript recording of one of the last recordings from PL. PL has returned to Dr. Adrian to give her a portrait, the big portrait that was over the fireplace. This patient had got it for the doctor as a thank you gift for helping her. And she's noticing that Dr. Hale seems a little flustered, a little pale, a little like something's wrong. And it is, right? Because Adrian is getting more and more worried about what EJ is asking from her and how he's just going to keep asking more and more and more. And she doesn't know what to do. And so she finally opens up to her boyfriend now, Luke, and tells him about the EJ problem and the video and how she's being extorted because of this video. But she doesn't tell him what it is exactly, but promises like it's nothing sexual. So how do you fix this problem? Well, this woman says, hey, babe, new boyfriend of mine, I'm going to get the keys for this guy's house and I'm going to get a copy of them somehow. And you're going to break into his house and you're going to delete the copies of this video from his computer, and I'll delete it from his phone, and then we'll be good to go. And then that'll make the video disappear, and then everything will go away. Huh? Again, this book was written in 2022. I just would like to remind everybody. And the reason there's a little bit more sense to it. Luke, we said he was an IT guy. Right? He got in trouble when he was in high school because he was like a hacker. And so Adrian is recruiting him to hack again and to like hack into EJ's devices to delete all traces of this video. So there's like a slightly more context, but not very much that would make that sound like a reasonable request. But eventually Luke agrees because they love each other. And she kind of manipulates him by saying, I love you, into getting him to do this. At the following session with EJ, Dr. Adrian decides to leave out a bottle of wine, knowing that he'll drink it, and she has drugged it. So a couple minutes into their session, he passes out. She steals his keys. She texts her boyfriend. So the grand plan is to have Luke break into this guy's house, hack into his stuff, delete these videos on any of his like devices, and then he promises Adrian that he's not going to watch any of the videos and stuff. But Luke feels really bad about doing all of this. Like, he feels bad about breaking into this house. He's afraid of getting caught. It's just a lot of turmoil between the two of them. And she's just sitting there thinking to herself, like, I might get rid of my EJ problem, but I might have lost Luke along the way as well. And it's just this like really ominous kind of like ending to this particular scene. And we cut back into present day with Trisha, who's listening to this tape. And she's sitting there listening, and remember, right, she doesn't have these other POVs. All she hears is EJ like passing out in the middle of the recording because of him being drugged. And so she's sitting there thinking like, I wonder why he sounded so sleepy. This is so strange. And that's the extent of her information that she has. So she's like playing with her wedding ring. It falls off of her finger. It rolls under the couch. She calls her husband, Ethan, in the room with her to move said couch. And they do, to retrieve her ring. And along the way, they find a trap door. There was a trap door under the couch in Dr. Adrian Hale's office. And Ethan goes to open it. And Trisha is like, no, we can't, babe, we can't. Don't do it. But he does. And what Trisha sees makes her heart drop, which I've always heard stomach drop. Is heart drop a thing? Anyway, back to Adrian's POV. In the before times, Luke, her boyfriend, returns home. He says, hey, I broke our promise. I did watch the video. I could see why you didn't want people to know that you slashed tires and all, but yeah, we're still cool. Anyway, let's load up this passed out, drugged up patient of yours. Let's throw him in the car and drive him back to his apartment. And that's exactly what they do. And she's like, hey, babe, you really proved your loyalty. How about you move in with me? And later that night, she gets a text message from EJ, calling her the B word, threatening to kill her for breaking into his house. And I'm like, I don't know why they thought that this was a good idea. Like, I don't know why they thought that any of this was a good idea. But her only response to EJ is that, like, you shouldn't make, hold on, I have it written down. You don't send somebody a text message expressing your intention to commit a crime if you're genuinely planning to do it. So she's not worried that he's actually going to hurt her anymore. And so she decides that she's not going to tell her boyfriend about this threat, and then she just blocks the guy's number. And she's like, problem solved, good to go. Okay. So back to Trisha. What did we see that made her heart drop? It's a body. It's a corpse. Mostly rotted. There's a little bit of clothes on it, right? It's wearing like a pair of jeans. And her husband is just like, well, looks like we know what happened to her. Super nonchalant, super chill about it. Just like completely not bothered by this finding at all. But before they can really, I don't know, discuss any further, there's a crashing sound on the other side of the house. Uh-oh. And again, we get like these POV swaps because God forbid we wrap up anything quickly. God forbid we actually like solve something or like convey a story without chopping it into 75 pieces. Like, it's just asking too much. I don't know why I would expect any different. Adrian and Luke are grocery shopping. They're living the good life, hanging out, and they get interrupted by GW, right? The patient named Gail. She is like, hey, thanks for talking me off the ledge with like being worried about everybody, wanting to off me. I talked to my son about my worries and he really comforted me. And I wanted to say thank you. And in the middle of talking, Adrian gets a text message from a guy named EJ, or from the patient EJ again, and like ends this discussion with this lady. It's so freaking disrespectful, dude. So she's reading this text message from EJ, and by reading, I mean watching, because he has sent her the copy of the video of her slashing the guy's tire. Because again, once it's on the internet, it doesn't actually ever go away. Of course, he has backup copies. And so she feigns illness with Luke so she can like leave the grocery store to go and try to meet up with EJ to see what he wants to make this like actually disappear. And he just wants another session. So he's sitting here talking to her. They like meet up at her house for like another therapy session thing. And he's like talking about his parents and how they died in a freak car accident the month before. And she's realizing that, oh my God, he killed his parents. Like he wanted his inheritance and he offed them and I didn't do anything to stop it. And like I completely misdiagnosed him and now his parents are dead. And now I know this man is a true psychopath. Okay. And so then finally she's like, hey, so like, what do you want? What do you want out of this? Why are you here? What are you doing? And he's like, I want a relationship with you. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll call the cops. Like I'll report you and I'll report myself. I don't even care anymore. Right. Like she's willing to throw away her entire career just to like not have to be in a relationship with this guy. She's like, I don't even care if the video of me slashing those tires gets out. And he's like, oh, that's fine. I bet you care about this video of your boyfriend breaking into my house though. I bet you wouldn't want that to get out, would ya? Uh-oh. And so he's like, so with that, I'll give you a couple days so you can figure out what you want. And then he leaves. And then she's just sitting there thinking like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what can I possibly do to get out of this? And the POV switches. And we're back with Trisha in the present day. Her husband, Ethan, goes to get a knife. It's a knife. no, to go and investigate the weird crash that they heard. And they find a man in Adrian's office. So maybe they were in the tape room, like in the secret little cassette tape room. And then now they're in the actual office. I don't know. Don't look at me like that. They find this guy. He's all scraggly, very clearly like hasn't shaved or gotten a haircut recently. And he's in there and he looks totally exhausted. And Trisha recognizes him instantly. Or recognizes his voice rather, when he's like talking and trying to like defend himself and tell him, I don't know, blah, 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 whatever. They're having like a bit of a conversation. And she says, oh my God, you're Luke. Her boyfriend, Luke, Dr. Adrian Hale's boyfriend, he's in the house. And we change the POVs again. And we're back with Adrian Hale in the before times. Dr. Adrian is talking to her boyfriend and tells him about EJ having copies of the tape. And he's like, well, I don't know, reap what you sow. Like, deal with the consequences of your actions. And she's like, or we could get rid of him. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Like, let's kill him. And Luke says, nope, I draw the line there. And she keeps pushing. And so eventually he like walks out. And then she realizes that she's going to have to do this herself. And we go back to Trisha's POV. Again, like nothing gets solved. I hate the way that these books are written, dude. It pisses me off so bad. But in current day, Luke confirms who he is. He says, yes, I was Dr. Adrian Hale's boyfriend. He's like, my entire life got ruined after she went missing. You know, I was the prime suspect. So like I got fired from my job. My family like disowned me. My friends all hate me. And so, yeah, I've been like hiding out in this house for the last 4 years. In which case I go back to the fact of like, how is the electricity still coming on? Is this house off of the grid? Is it all coming out of like a bank account of hers somewhere and it's like auto paying or something? If he's been holed up in this house for 4 years, he hasn't dusted a single time. He just hasn't like tried to maintain the cobwebs or anything. He hasn't even bothered to try to keep this place nice. What do you mean? And he's like, no, I'm innocent though. Like I didn't hurt Adrian. Like my life is ruined because of it, blah, blah, blah. Ethan, the husband, does not believe this. He still thinks that this guy killed Adrian. And so he holds the knife to the guy and has Trisha tie him up with like duct tape to a chair so that he can't hurt them and they're going to call the cops and stuff or something. I don't know. Well, and they can't call the cops, right? Because they don't have any cell phone signal. So instead, they're going to duct tape him to the chair and then Ethan's going to go down to the road to try to like flag down somebody to try to get a hold of the cops and to have somebody like return. When he goes to leave the house, he walks by the room that has all of those cassette tapes and the secret door to it is open. And so finally he sees the cassette tape room for the first time. And so now he's like, hey, WTF is this about? Did you know about this? Did you know about all of these tape recordings, Trisha? And she's like, no, I had no idea. I don't know where this came from. And he says, don't lie. Hey, well, kind of. Titles never lie. And she's like, yeah, I did. And he says, don't listen to any more tapes. And then like storms out. And she realizes that like she has some tapes that she needs to go and put in there. Because she's been like collecting them out of, I guess, the secret cassette office thing and then going and listening to them in Adrian's actual big office that everybody knows about. And so she has to go and collect those and put them back in the cassette room because otherwise Ethan will know that she's been listening to these different tapes, right? And also if he gets the police and the police see that there's missing tapes, then they'll know that she's been listening to them. And that's a whole other can of worms. And so she has to go back into Adrian's office to get the tapes. Adrian's office, where Luke, the suspected murderer, Dr. Adrian Hale's boyfriend, is duct taped to a chair, right? We're all on the same page here? So she goes into the room and Luke says, that's not Adrian in the floor, by the way. Like she doesn't wear jeans. I don't know who that is, but that's not her. Oh, okay. She's realizing that he's right because like she's gone through Adrian's closet and yeah, she has like cashmere and all these like bougie fabrics and stuff, but not like a lick of denim anywhere. So yeah, she wouldn't wear jeans. You're right. Oh no, who is this body then? And so he goes on and he's like, I swear I didn't kill her. I didn't hurt her, but she ignores him. she still just gathers up all of the tapes and she puts them all away. All of the tapes are right back where she found them. Everything looks like it was, and every tape is in its home except for one. Okay. We have like 5 chapters left. Chapter 45. There's only like 50 something chapters. I was being dramatic earlier. Chapter 45 is the transcript, session number 185 with patient P.L. This was the patient that book number 1 was written about, right? The pop psychology hit by Dr. Adrian Hale. This is also the patient that was being treated for PTSD after she woke up in a cabin with her boyfriend, best friend, and other friend, all dead, and she had gotten stabbed in the stomach, right? You remember that whole story? This is that recording session with PL. And this is a very confrontational session where the patient says, yeah, I really hope that they find that guy eventually. I just can't start my life again until I know that he's behind bars. And Dr. Adrian says, they're never going to find him because it's you. You killed them and you stabbed yourself to, make it look like like a hit or something, or like a robbery gone wrong. And even the detective, you were the prime suspect, but he just couldn't prove it. And I know that you've been lying this entire time, and it's time that you told the truth. Patricia. P.L.? P for Patricia? Our other main female character. I have tears in my eyes. Our main female character that we've been sitting here going through this with, being named Trisha. And so after we get the reveal of the tape, this is the tape that she's not going to put back. She's going to destroy this tape because this is the tape that reveals that everything is a lie and would like make all of this crumble, and then also like names her or whatever. And in the current day, she's sitting here and she's she's reflecting, I guess, or says to us as the reader or whatever, I'm not a murderer. Okay, well, like technically I am. And we get the confirmation that Trisha is in fact Patricia. Trisha is in fact P.L. And that, yeah, she did. She killed her fiance and her best friend because they were sleeping together. And then she killed the other friend to like make it look like it wasn't a targeted incident. And then she stabbed herself in the stomach to make herself look like a victim as well. She did all of it. And you might be putting it together about like what is kind of like unraveling and what's happening now. Dr. Adrian enlists Patricia, right, using this leverage that she has over here of knowing her true crimes that she has committed and all of her lies that she's told, and has Trisha, or Patricia, patient PL, kill EJ for her and make that problem go away. Okay. So she has Trisha get all beautified, absolutely gorgeous, and go to the casino and make EJ's dreams come true. She's this really gorgeous woman and goes to hit on him, invites him back up to her hotel room without telling each other their names or anything, drugs him, gets him in her car, and then takes him to Adrian's house. And so in this like next chapter where we're in the before times with Adrian, a passed out EJ, and a Patricia at Adrian's house. Trisha asks, like, hey, what are you going to do with him? She says, don't worry about it. So Trisha leaves with like no evidence and no knowledge of what's going on. All that she knows is like she was guilty enough of like bringing the guy here, but she doesn't know what happened next. What happens is Adrian rolls his passed out body into the trap door, tapes it closed so that there won't be any air into it, and then puts the couch over it so that he won't be able to get out. And then she says, goodbye, Edward. And so this is where we as the reader get the confirmation that Ethan is not Edward. That was in fact a red herring. EJ is dead in the trapdoor. And so in current day, Trisha is thinking about all this stuff, and she's like, I didn't know for sure if she would kill Edward. I kind of assumed that that's what happened after all the missing person, reports and stuff came out about him. And she was always really worried because technically, like on film, like on the CCTV or whatever at the casino, they didn't walk out together, but they had talked at that table and then they had walked out separate. And so she's like, I was always waiting for the cops to, come knock on my door and ask me about it. And it would be all this mess. And I laid awake for nights and I just got obsessed over it, about being caught for this woman's crimes. And it was until I couldn't take it anymore. And then in chapter 49, from Adrian's POV in the before times, she goes back to the clinic. She makes up with Luke. They get buddy again. And she's like, he can never know what I've done. I'll never tell him about what I did to EJ, but like he and I can finally be together again. And all these problems have gone away. Okay, cool. Right. So they're back to dating. They're living their good life. All of her problems disappeared. She has a new book. She's making money. Everything's going great. Her life is going great. Until one day she comes home and Trisha's car is parked outside of Adrian's house. Because in Adrian's POV, or in Trisha's POV, her mom had always told her that the only way that two people can keep a secret is if one of them is dead. Huh. Okay. So we learned that, like, the first person that Trisha kills was back when she was, like, 16 years old. And she killed, like, a whole bunch of other people. This is, like, the fifth person that she's killed. She killed Adrian and, like, had buried her off in the garden or something. Or no, sorry, not in the garden. Don't listen to that. Act like you didn't hear that. She, like, buried her out, like, 2 hours away in some, like, deserted field area thing, and she's just, like, never been found. And she had, like, searched the house forever trying to find Edward's body because she wanted to get rid of his body as well to make sure that never got found, so that she would be, like, remain innocent, but she just couldn't find it. And so she has to, like, make a run for it, basically. And so she decides that she's gonna, like, go to Manhattan and go and restart her life, because that's what every single main character in Freida McFadden books do. So she goes and restarts her life, has a crazy good time out there doing whatever, and then eventually finds out about Dr. Hale's house being for sale. And so that's why they're there now, because she wanted to go and buy the house and go and look through it even more detailed to, make sure, I don't know, to find the guy's body, to have a reason to have her DNA in the house, to go and try and find the recordings of these sessions to, again, like, absolve herself of these crimes in some way. And so that's why they're there. This was all planned by her. She knew exactly who Dr. Adrian was. She knew whose house this was. She knew all of this stuff. Which we go back to the fact of, like, in the very beginning of the book, these should not be told in first person point of view. This needs to be told from, like, third person POV. Because, like, somebody who knew that they killed somebody in this house and that all this shit happened wouldn't be like, I walked up to this house and had this wave of nausea and there was this really weird portrait over the fireplace. Bitch, you gave her the portrait. You knew she had it. You knew she had it over the fireplace. You already talked about that. Like, you confronted her about it and called her arrogant for doing that. So you can't just, like, show up and then play stupid about it in chapter 1 of this book. Like, that's such bad storytelling, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how people, what? Anyway, so she's, like, sitting here, and she found these tapes, and that's why she was listening to all of them, because she realized, like, she had to find her tape to destroy, and she learned a whole bunch of other stuff along the way, and now she found Edward's body, and now she's like, I don't know what to do with it, because I can't really move it, and now it's just here. And then also, now there's this Luke guy, and he knows everything, and he knows that there's dead bodies here, and so now I have to plan my next move very carefully. And so there's, like, 4 chapters of just nonsense of her and Ethan trying to, like, somehow live a life of domesticity as they waste the night away because the snowplow is going to come in the morning to, like, clear them out of the driveway and stuff. And she goes to sleep after they have dinner and talk and whatever, and it's stupid stuff. I'm not getting into it. It's just a waste of time, and I'm done talking about this godforsaken book. She wakes up in the middle of the night. Ethan is not next to her. So she goes downstairs, and she finds him in front of the fireplace, and he's burning all of the cassette tapes for patient GW, for patient Gail, the one about the paranoid one that thought her son was going to kill her and take all of her money. Well, that was his mom. And he did kill his mom. He did kill his mom. And Trisha knew this because she had ran into Gail in front of Adrian's house at some point, and they had, like, ran into each other because their appointments were like back to back, and so she knew who Gail was. And I don't know, I guess maybe her and Trisha had talked at one point, or maybe this old lady had just like talked openly to anybody who would hear, or she overheard her talking about how she thought her son would kill her. And so then eventually, when Trisha had seen in the paper that Gail died because she had fallen down a set of stairs and had like snapped her neck or whatever, Trisha realized, oh my God, her son did kill her. And then she became obsessed with him. And she was like, I need him. I can fix him. Not really, but like I can be evil with him. And so she like staged their like meet cute where she and Ethan ran into each other at a coffee shop or something and like spilled coffee on one another. I think that's how it was. And then, yeah, got married. And then she's been waiting the whole time for their marriage for him to like confess what he did. And that's the whole reason that like she brought him on this trip, was to try to get him to confess everything. Okay. Yeah. I mean, sure. And I guess, and now he knows that like Trisha's listened to all of these tapes and stuff. And so he does come clean and he's like, yeah, I did kill her. And she's just so happy that her husband has finally opened up to her and like let her see this other side of him. And so then she's like, yeah, thank you so much, baby. I'm so glad you're so honest with me. And don't worry, I get it. I killed my fiance and these other people too. Huh? And just like completely, it's like a complete recap of the entire book. She's like, yeah, I killed all these people. And then Adrian was my therapist. And then she confronted me about killing all these people. And then she extorted me to kill that guy in the floorboard over there. And then now we have that Luke guy. Yeah, her boyfriend that's still alive that we have like duct taped to that chair. Now he knows. And you know what would be really cool? If we killed him together. Huh? And so they finish like burning the rest of the PL tapes and the GW tapes. And then Ethan grabs a knife. And that's how the book ends. Is like with the implication that they're going to go and kill Luke together. And in the epilogue, it's 2 years later. They did in fact buy the house. They had a daughter. She's pregnant with their second kid, as is with like any epilogue in every single book ever written. And then it's Luke that's buried in the garden. I had like a slip earlier when I had said that. They buried Luke in the garden. And Ethan gets real jittery about it anytime anybody goes out there. And Trisha's like, I mean, I find my husband like really sexy now that I know that he can like handle business. But I don't like how sketched out he gets. And so, you know, I hope he can hold it together because, you know, if he doesn't, if he cracks, it wouldn't be very good, you know. Hopefully that won't ever happen, but if it does, I'm prepared to take care of the situation. After all, my mother said that the only way that two people can keep a secret is if one of them is dead. And that's how the book ends. I love it here. Oh, I love it here so much. Don't you? Don't you love it here? Isn't this so great? Isn't this like literary genius? Yeah, I don't have anything to say. I don't think I have anything to say, actually. So with that, with that note, I am going to call it a night. It's 9 p.m. and I am tired. So I am going to go and do something else. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for all of the support on the channel this last year. You're so greatly appreciated. I love and appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, we'll see what I do next. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.